video we will learn basic concepts of factorization. Factorization is very important as most questions in examination for polynomial are on factorization. So first let us understand what is a factor. So what is a factor? What is a factor? And we will understand by taking numerical examples, and after we understand factor and factorization with numerical example, then we will proceed with polynomials. So now let us take number 10. And the question is, by what numbers number 10 can be divided completely? So for example, if we have number 10 and if we divide by 5, we get 0 as the remainder. And if we take number 10 again and if we divide by 2, then also we get 0. So when we say divide completely means the remainder should be 0. So 5 and 2 are factor of 10. 5 and 2 are factor of 10. Because when number 10 is divided by 5 and 2, the remainder is 0. So that is very important concept. So factors are nothing but divisor. Divisor resulting in 0 remainder. If the remainder is 0, then these divisors are called factors. Say for example, take another example. Say we take number 12. Now what are the factors of 12? Means number 12, what are the numbers which we can divide, which will result in 0 remainder. So if we divide 12 by 2, we know that remainder will be 0. If we divide by 3, remainder will be 0. Divide by 4, we know remainder is 0. What about 5? In case of, if we try to divide 12 by 5, the remainder is not 0. So 5 is not a factor. So 5 is not a factor of 12. What about 6? Yes, 6 is a factor, because when we divide by 6, the remainder is 0. What about 7? No. What about 8? No, and so on. So what are the factors? These are the factors of 12. So what we have understood is factor is nothing but divisor which will result in remainder being 0, which will result in remainder being 0, result in remainder being 0. So remainder should be 0. Remainder should be 0. So it's basically a process of division by which we can do factorization. So factorization is the process or the method by which we can find factor. So factorization is nothing but finding factors. Finding factors. Suppose there is a number 248 and someone asks you to find factors. So one method could be that you start dividing from 2, then divide by 3 and then keep trying it. So for example, we divide by 2 and we find remainder is 0. Then we try with 3, we find remainder is not 0. So 3 is not, we find. Then we try with 4, remainder is 0. Then we try with 5, we find no, it is not. Then we try with 6, then again we don't find, and so on we keep trying. So this is one method, this is one way we can do that, but it will be very time consuming. Maybe in the whole examination you may be able to solve only one or two questions in the given time. So how do we address this problem? So we take help of some tips and tricks. Tips, tricks, formula, theorem. So all these things come to our help, and also our knowledge of tables. And more important of all these things is our general confidence in trying out. So for example, we know that in mathematics you must have learned earlier, and I am just repeating that if the last digit of any number is even, if the last digit is even, then it will divide by 2. Then the number will divide by 2. All of you know that. And we also know if the last two digit if they divide by 4, then the whole number will also divide, then whole will divide by 4. And we also know that if the last digit is 0, then the last digit is 0, then divide by 10. And if the last number is 0 or 5, then it will divide by 5. Last digit, so number 4 is last digit is 0 or 5, then divide by 5. And then we also know if the sum of the digit of a number, sum of the digit, for example 2 plus 4 plus 8, so it becomes 8 plus 2 plus 4 is 6 and 8 14. And if the sum divide by 3, if sum of digits divide by 3, then the number will number divide by 3 by 3. So these are a few tips and tricks which we have learnt earlier, and I am just repeating it, that if the last digit is even, then we know the number will divide by 2. If the last two digit divide by 4, then the whole number will divide by 4. If the last digit is 0, then the whole number will divide by 10. If the last digit is 0 or 5, then the whole number will divide by 5. And if the sum of the digits of the number divide by 3, then the number will completely divide by 3. So we can use some of these tips which we have learned earlier when it comes to factorization of numerical numbers. Similarly, but then there is no foolproof method, in the sense that we cannot get for tips and tricks for all the divisions. So it will cover like good number of possible factors, but not all the factors. For example, there is no tip and trick for divide by 7. So what number will divide by 7 or 11? On these numbers we don't have. Therefore, we need to be very strong in our tables. Our knowledge of tables has to be good for us to do factorization of numerical number quite quickly. Now, in case of polynomials also, the factors and factorization has the same meaning. So in this case also, in case of polynomial, we have to find the divisor so that the remainder is 0. And I just take a quick example here. So we take a quick example here of x square minus 1, and we know that x minus 1 and x plus 1 both are factor of x square minus 1. So if we divide x square minus 1 by x minus 1, the remainder will be 0. And also if we divide x square minus 1 by x plus 1, then again the remainder will be 0. So both these are factors of x square minus 1. And we will learn more in the subsequent videos how to do factorization of polynomials. So let us sum up what we have learned. We have learned what is a factor and what are factors, and we have taken a numerical example like say 10, and we know that for 10, 5 as well as 2 are factors of 10. So we also learned that the factorization by definition means uh, finding factors, and the factors are where uh, divisor is resulting in 0 remainder. So as you know that this is called divisor, this is divisor, and this is quotient, and this is remainder. Just we have learned earlier, but I am again writing here. So the divisor has to be, sorry, divisor, 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 divisor. So the divisor which result in remainder as 0 is a factor. Thank you.